Hello everybody. I wanted to make a video discussing the MTHFR gene mutation. Many of you don't even know what the MTHFR gene mutation is all about. 40% of the population is estimated to have this gene mutation to some degree, and some experts believe that 60% of the women may have this gene mutation. It is affecting a lot of the things going on in our body. So if you want to find out more, listen to this video. Before I get started, I do need to do a disclaimer. Okay, this video is for informational purposes only. It is not meant to replace medical advice. It's not meant to diagnose or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional. So with that being said, let's talk about MTHFR. MTHFR actually stands for a gene marker location and also an enzyme. If you have a defect at that gene marker location, you are inefficient at making the MTHFR enzyme and a whole lot more. I'm going to list out some of the things that could possibly be an indicator for having this MTHFR gene mutation. What are they? Listen up. Mind chatter, stress, anxiety, depression, fatigue, brain fog, could have a miscarriage. Any woman that has had a miscarriage should probably be tested for the MTHFR gene mutation. Slow metabolism, food intolerances, trouble sleeping, aches and pains in the joints, autoimmune issues, shortness of breath, migraines, ... There are so many issues that are now being attributed to MTHFR gene mutation. Now, does that mean if you have some of these, do you have the MTHFR gene mutation? No. They're just compiling a list and studying what could be indicators for this. But these issues can be caused by so many different things happening in the body as well. Now, what does it mean to have the MTHFR gene mutation? Why is it so important to figure out if we have this gene mutation? Because then we can do steps to help alleviate some of these symptoms. But you have to understand what this gene or series of genes do in the body. First of all, they are involved in part of the methylation pathways in the body. And I'm sitting there thinking, methylation pathways, you're losing me already. What does that mean? Well, let me dumb it down a little bit, okay? Methylation pathways are processes in the body that help repair damaged cells. They optimize DNA cell function. They help process toxins and hormones. They metabolize B vitamins. All these methylation pathways also help regulate our neurotransmitters. And when I'm talking about neurotransmitters, I'm talking about serotonin, dopamine, GABA, all of them. Those all affect our overall mental health, our mood, our well-being, our sleep. So if they get messed up, we feel the effects. Methylation pathways are also dealing with helping the body to detoxify. Now, one of the things I want to point out is methylation helps turn homocysteine into methanol. And I'm not sure I'm saying methanol right. I hope I am. But you're like, homocysteine, don't know what that is. Methanol, don't know what that is. All you need to keep in mind is this. Homocysteine levels, if they get too high in the body, can actually start leading or be a pre-indicator for cardiovascular issues. The body has a way of taking the homocysteine and converting it into methanol if the methylation pathways are working properly. And we need methanol for a whole bunch of things. Methanol helps build proteins, repairs cells, detoxifies, supports inflammatory response, helps the liver process fats. Methanol also produces glutathione. Glutathione is the body's most potent detoxifier. Methanol also is broken down by the liver into a product called SAMe. SAMe is an inflammatory fighting agent. Everything I just listed are all part of methylation processes in the body. So you can imagine if those methylation processes are compromised, we become compromised. So that's why it's very important to understand the MTHFR gene mutation. MTHFR is just one of the methylation pathways. But all it takes is one pathway to be blocked, and all those things I listed are gonna get ineffectual. They're not gonna be doing their job very well. Now, if you get tested for MTHFR, first of all, where do you get tested? Go to your doctor, they can do a test. You can go to, there's labs now where you can go in and you can get almost any blood work or saliva run. You know, if you want your vitamin D tested, a standard CBC or whatever, go to one of these labs. They're in Louisville. I'm not sure if Evansville has one. They might. But for MTHFR specifically, you can also get a kit, a test kit online. Amazon has one in particular, and it's a saliva test. So that's nice. It's not a blood test. But if you decide to get tested for MTHFR, the test results are going to come back and they're going to be kind of confusing to understand. So I want to put that into this video as well. There are 2 gene marker locations where they predominantly test for MTHFR gene mutation. They are the C677T location and the A1298C location. Your test results might have a slight different number, but if you Google it, it'll say it's the same number as these, okay? So 2 gene marker locations, and they test both genes to see if there is a mutation. The test results will say for both gene locations, for one it will say either no variant, heterozygous, homozygous. Same thing for the other gene location. If your test results say no variant, that means you don't have a defect at that marker location. If it says heterozygous, it means you have one marker that is off. Remember, we get some from mom and some from dad. So if you're heterozygous, that means either mom or dad gave you a defective marker at that gene location. If your test result says homozygous, that means you got one from mom and from dad. That's why there's different levels of the MTHFR gene mutation, because it depends how many gene markers you have out. It also depends on your environment and your diet as well. The more gene markers you have out, the more compromised your methylation processes are. Now, I'm going to read a statement here. This is important. If you have an MTHFR gene mutation, what happens? It can alter how your body metabolizes and converts nutrients from the foods you eat into usable forms of vitamins, minerals, and proteins. It can also affect your hormones and your neurotransmitters. It can affect so many different things in the body. They're actually starting to link autoimmune diseases to some of these MTHFR gene mutations. And what I want to point out, guys, is I'm not an expert on this. I am learning along the way, and I think people need to know some more information about MTHFR. But MTHFR is not the only methylation pathway. There's more of them in the body. And hopefully down the road, I will make some more videos on that as well. So, first thing you do is if you suspect that you have the gene mutation, you get tested. I already talked about that. If you find out that you have the gene mutation, go to a qualified professional, okay? Seek help. Now, do I know everything there is to know about MTHFR? No, I am learning along the way, okay? I advise my clients and I help them navigate. I read the test results. I make suggestions on pathways that they can go. But there are so many qualified healthcare professionals out there that you can seek out, okay? But there's more you can do. First off, if you have the MTHFR gene mutation, you need to start limiting the amount of folic acid in your diet. What is folic acid? Folic acid is vitamin B9. The reason you need to eliminate it as much as possible is not that you don't need it, you just don't need it in that form. The methylation pathways gets compromised with the MTHFR gene mutation, and the more markers that are out, the more compromised it can be, okay? Part of that process is the body doesn't convert folic acid into folate. Folate is the usable form. It's what the body actually uses. Folate is a coenzyme, and it is needed by thousands of chemical transactions in the body. So if we're taking folic acid and barely converting it into folate, so many of those chemical reactions that need to take place are compromised. So we don't want folic acid because the body doesn't process it, and it actually can turn into a toxin if you have the MTHFR gene mutation. If you don't have the MTHFR gene mutation, folic acid is just fine. You process it A-okay. But if you do, you need to take folate. And the form you need to take it in is methylfolate. Remember I keep talking about these methylation pathways? Well, a supplement that is methylfolate has already went through the methylation form and is in the form that the body can already use. It does not have to be converted into anything else. So that's critical thing one. Talk to a healthcare provider and find out about supplementing with methylfolate, which is vitamin B9. Start eliminating folic acid from your diet as much as you can. Folic acid comes in everything that says enriched, like the enriched flours, the enriched cereals. They put folic acid in it. Sorry to tell you that, but those need to start going away from your diet as much as possible. Now, it's not just vitamin B9, folic acid that gets affected by MTHFR. It's vitamin B12. We don't absorb that as well if you have the mutation. Regular vitamin B12 that is you could buy in a supplement is usually in the form cyanocobalamin. Okay, C-Y-A-N-O cobalamin. If you have the MTHFR gene mutation, you do not process the cyanocobalamin form of B12 very effectively. Remember I said so many people that have this mutation have fatigue. Well, they're not pulling in the B12. I mean, they may get a B12 shot and it doesn't do anything for them because they can't convert it into the methylcobalamin form. Remember, methylation pathways? That's what a person with the gene mutation needs. They need a vitamin B12 supplement that's in the methylcobalamin form. Then there's vitamin B6. That one also needs to be supplemented. And you can take the regular synthetic form of vitamin B6. It needs to be the activated form of vitamin B6. Activated means it's already converted into the form that the body can use, and it's usually listed as P5P. So those are 3 supplements. If you buy a vitamin B complex that says methyl form, there you go. It's already in that. The problem with the methyl B complexes is sometimes you need more of the methylfolate and more of the B12. I wholeheartedly believe in the methylated B complexes, but then you might have to supplement with a little bit more methylfolate and a little bit more methylcobalamin, the B12 form, okay? Consult with a healthcare provider, and they're going to give you a lot more direction, okay? I also want to stress you can get some of these supplements, so to speak, vitamins, in your diet. The highest folate-rich foods include asparagus, romaine lettuce, broccoli, avocado, dark green leafy vegetables. B6 is found in poultry, seafood, bananas, and also leafy green vegetables. And B12, fish, poultry, and red meat. So you can get some of these supplements via your diet. The only thing is, if you are older and you didn't even know about the MTHFR, you're probably pretty deficient in folate and B12 and B6. And so probably supplementing would may be a good idea. That's where seeking the advice from someone else would greatly help. I'm going to give one word of caution out there because a lot of people like to do things on their own. If you find out that you do have the MTHFR gene mutation, do not take a high dose of methylfolate. It will give you a headache. It will cause stomach issues. You got to start slow and work your way up. And what I tell people is the methylfolate is really the one that helps with our mood, mind chatter, because it's helping to produce GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that calms the brain. All right, last thing I'm going to mention. There's a new field of study out there called epigenetics, and it's not that new, but for me it's new. Epigenetics talks about we are not preordained by what is solely in our genes. Our environment and our diet plays a bigger part. And that's the truth. Just because mom and dad may have some kind of genetic defect or disease doesn't mean you are preordained to have it. Epigenetics kind of says, 25% we get from mom and dad, but the other 75% that happens in our body is dependent on our diet and our environment. And our environment plays a key role. How's our mental health? Do we have support? That is a key factor. So, this video is longer than I intended it to be. Hopefully you got through all of it. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the MTHFR gene mutation. And if you want to learn more, set up an appointment with me. Find another healthcare provider. Get tested. I want to empower you to start taking power over what's happening in your body. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the day.